The idea of flow redundancy comes from computers. It's a metaphor where you want to have redundancy. You don't want to have, if one thing fails, you don't want the entire system to fail. You want to have multiple options. So even if one or two things fail, your computer keeps on going. And one area of computers that this works with is hard drives. And I've said this in other courses about how important it is to back up your data. If you're not backing up your data, then what that means is either your data is not that valuable to you, or you just don't think that your hard drives are going to eventually fail. Every hard drive has a 3 to 5 year lifespan, unless you're talking about a very high-end hard drive. Most consumer grade hard drives, 3 to 5 years, and they're eventually going to fail. So the important thing is you can, especially for more important systems, or if you're doing video editing or putting a lot of demand on a hard drive, is you can set them up in what's called a RAID array, where you can have 1 or 2 or 3 or even more hard drives fail, but still have access to all that data. Just plug in a new hard drive and it'll rebuild everything. And it uses mathematical formulas basically to provide redundancy and allow you to keep on going even if a hard drive or 2 hard drives fail. It's part of a collection of, say, 5, 6, 7 hard drives. So that idea, we're bringing it over to this idea of flow. How do you consistently keep yourself in the flow? And we talked earlier about the power of curiosity, but how do you actually implement that on a day-to-day level? The way you implement it is by giving yourself more than one option in terms of what are the most important projects to get done in a certain week. So we talked earlier about you want to plan out, okay, what's the most important thing for each day, and write down, once you separate every item into one of those 5 categories of business/career, personal, relationships, health, and then meta, organization, systems level stuff. Once you separate in those 5 categories, then you're going and planning on each day, what are you going to do? But you're going to wake up on Monday morning and you may not feel like working on a certain project, but you might be really excited about another project. You want to use the excitement that you have for that project because it's going to give you a lot of energy. It's going to keep you motivated. It's going to get you to take a lot more action and a lot more high quality action. So the way you want to think about things is always having 2 to 3 different options. And these options are valuable for a number of reasons. Number one, some of these options can be for when you're in total focus mode, when you're in high energy mode. You have a lot of energy, you have a lot of focus, you have a lot of time, you can sit down and do something. That's valuable, but it's also valuable to have options when you're laying in bed, or you're tired, or you're in the car, or you're working out or something else, where you can maybe just listen to something or watch a video and not read, not take notes. So there's different types of projects that can work for that. Certain projects are going to be more geared towards audio, whereas maybe something like programming, it's going to be hard to find something on audio that really works well for most programming type learning. Whereas for other subjects, audio might be a great way to learn that subject. So it's not just thinking about, well, what are the main projects this week that I want to get done? It's all about balance, also about balancing short, medium, and long-term goals. So sometimes you're going to be really focused on your short-term goals, and that's going to be probably most of what you're doing when you're planning out your week. But it's also important to have medium and long-term goals where they're kind of side projects. You know they're important for your long-term development, but they're not essential to anything that's coming up in the near-term future and next weeks or next couple months. So having those long-term things, you can have it, for example, as audios or videos in your Dropbox, your Google Drive, where anytime where you have some downtime or you're just not feeling like doing anything else, you can go to those places and still get productive stuff done. Another great example is role models, reading biographies, or just watching videos on some of your favorite role models, or getting spaced repetitions. So that's all great stuff to do. Reading those biographies, spending time with really great people, whether in person or digitally with some sort of recording. It's really important to have that because you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. If you aren't spending time around high quality people in your day-to-day life, the only way to replace that is by spending time around high quality people in relation to the recordings of them. So audio recordings, video recordings, or things that they've written down, or other people have written about their life story and what they've done. So you can surround yourself with that, create an environment for yourself in that way, even if the environment of your day-to-day life, the people that you spend time around, where you live, you may not be able to have total control over that, the people that you work with. But what you can control is what's coming into your eyes, what's coming into your ears. And so you can control that by what you read, what videos you watch, what audios you listen to. You can surround yourself with high quality people in that way. So it's important to have a balance of options. So when you get that spark of energy or that spark of inspiration, you read something in the newspaper, you see something on TV, and you think, oh, I've got that really cool side project that I haven't looked into in a long while. You can go to that and you're going to have a ton of energy to give to that. And you're going to be in the flow as long as you're working on that. Eventually that flow may change as long as you're able to get back to whatever's keeping you in the flow, whatever you're excited about right now, and try to direct it at one of those 2 or 3 most important options most of the time. That's how you're going to be most effective. Your most important goal should be getting into the flow early in the day and then staying in the flow by, first of all, removing distractions and making sure your environment is set up properly. We've already talked about that a lot. Just things like turning off your phone, putting it on silent mode, turning off notifications, putting on an airplane mode, turning off notifications on your computer using one tab, just eliminating distractions so that there aren't a routine number of distractions coming at you, only checking your email twice a day, those sorts of things to control your focus. But in the grander scheme of things, you need to make sure you're staying in the flow by having 2 or 3 options, not having a ton of options, but having 2 or 3 main options that consistently, if you don't feel like doing one thing, you don't feel like you're doing the other thing, you're probably going to feel like doing the third thing. And so allow your flow to kind of meander back and forth among those. Just make sure that they're all important, high quality projects. They don't have to all be short-term projects, but probably 2 out of 3 of them should be. You can have one sort of longer term thing that's maybe slightly more enjoyable or something that's more of a hobby type thing. But just make sure that you get into the flow early, because when you get into the flow early, you're building that habit of getting into the flow right at the beginning of the day. That's extremely important, because once you're in the flow at the beginning of the day, it makes it a lot easier to stay in the flow later on. If you begin the day and you go on Facebook or YouTube and you're just kind of browsing around and not getting a lot done, that can take over your whole day. And then your day starts to feel like you haven't gotten anything done. You can get stressed out. You can get overwhelmed. You just feel like you're not having a day. And it's really easy to just say, I'm going to write off today. I'm just going to try to start good for tomorrow. And today's just not a good day. And just decide, okay, I'm just going to kind of give up on the day. It's a lot like how people, when they go on diets, if they cheat on the diet at the beginning of the day, they feel like, oh, well, I messed it up, so I'll just eat unhealthy the rest of the day. Or, oh, I broke my diet on Wednesday, so the rest of the week I'll just eat crap food, and then I'll try to start again next Monday. So you want to get out of that way of thinking, and the best way to do is just make sure you're starting your day in a good place. And what that means is eliminate all negative options or bad options, and just make sure you consistently have 2 or 3 high quality options at hand at all times. And a really easy way to do this is if you just have things that you're reading, or you have digital files like videos or audios, make sure those are the only folders on your desktop and eliminate everything else. If you have a few things on your bedside table, make sure that you're only keeping 2 or 3 things there. Make sure they're each in a separate manila folder, and make sure those 2 or 3 things are only high quality projects that are really important for you to be learning and working on right now. So don't allow yourself to be distracted by other things. Make sure you always have 2 or 3 high quality options so that if you're bored with one thing, you can go to another thing. Your primary focus, especially in these first few weeks and months, is consistently getting in the flow, making it a habit where it's easy for you to get into the flow, where you just recognize, am I in the flow or am I not in the flow? And eventually there's going to be a tipping point. And the tipping point happens when it becomes more normal and more natural for you to be in the flow than to not be in the flow. And it's magical. Life changes when you get to that point because it's just effortless. Taking action is effortless. You just don't get distracted in the same way anymore. It's normal for you to make the right decision every time instead of constantly battling with inner demons or inner kind of distractors or other inner voices that are telling you to do something else, or, oh, click on this, click on that, go to Facebook, see what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Once you eliminate those options, once you intentionally focus on and set up your environment to have only high quality options, your life is going to change because it's going to be very easy to get in the flow. Once you're in the flow, it's very easy to focus on things. So your primary focus when you begin each day is set up the options when you're planning out your week. Make sure that your environment only allows you to get those options, whether it's what bookmarks do you have, what's on your desktop, what windows show up when you open your computer in the morning, what pieces of paper or what books do you have on your bedside table or on your desk, what's laying on your desk when you get to your desk in the morning. All those little things have a huge impact. So when you finish work anywhere, you should make sure that things are organized when you leave them. So your computer, close those windows or minimize every window. Close all the tabs that you can close before you finish your work at the end of the day. Make sure you have a clean slate, so when you come in the morning, the first thing you do is you think of what are the 2 or 3 options that I have, what's most important, what's the single most important thing to get done today, and how am I feeling right now? Of those few options I have, what am I most excited about? And then use that most exciting option to get into the flow, and then just follow your instincts from there. And you're going to find that pretty soon, in a few weeks to a few months, you're going to consistently be in the flow most of the day. And you're going to get a ton more productivity out of it. You're going to be able to take on much larger challenges. You're just going to feel like there's a lot more capacity added to your brain. And the reason why is because that flow is giving you a ton more energy. That's going to help you push through those challenges. That's going to help you achieve what you want and help you learn a lot faster.